Welcome inside a Volkswagen factory in the late 1980s. At the time, this Wolfsburg plant was the most modern in the world. Back then, the production process for the second generation of the Volkswagen Golf and Volkswagen Jetta also began with a design proposal. Almost 900,000 Volkswagen Golf cars were produced in 1989 alone. By 1989, this Volkswagen Wolfsburg plant was considered the largest single car manufacturing complex globally, both in terms of physical size and production capacity. Right now, you are watching a typical day for workers at the Volkswagen factory in Germany in 1989. Work started early in the morning and began in the locker room. Even back then, the production of each car started in the press shop. These huge steel coils arrived at the factory by train and were then transferred to a huge pressing machine. These coils were made of cold-rolled or hot-rolled steel, depending on the part requirements. Volkswagen sourced its steel both from German suppliers and other European producers. Once in the press shop, coils were fed into machines called decoilers. The steel was unwound, straightened, and cut into blanks, flat pieces ready to be stamped. These blanks were fed into massive mechanical or hydraulic stamping presses. The presses used steel dies to stamp out parts like door panels, hoods, roofs, fenders, and floor sections. Workers in the factory had to supervise and assist the mechanical machines in the press shop. In today's automobile factories, this is a workstation with a minimum of human workers. The Wolfsburg plant employed tens of thousands of workers in 1989. Estimates vary, but numbers hovered around 45,000 to 50,000 employees at the time. Most workers operated in shifts, typically 3 shifts per day, ensuring 24-hour production. While robotics and automation were increasing, much of the work in 1989 still relied on manual labor and skill. Workers handled power tools, hoists, assembly fixtures, and early forms of computer-assisted machinery. As you can see right now, even 35 years ago, car factories were using sophisticated sliders for individual body parts. Now, all the molded parts are moved to the welding shop, where they become the finished car body. Discipline and precision were part of the culture. German industry was known for high standards. The work inside this car factory was physically demanding, especially in departments like the press shop and body welding, with exposure to noise, heat, and heavy machinery. In 1989, this welding was a core process in the body shop, where individual steel parts stamped in the press shop were joined to form the body in white, which is the car's main structural shell before painting and assembly. Each Volkswagen Golf or Jetta had thousands of spot welds. 2 copper electrodes clamped sheets together and sent an electric current through them, melting the metal at the contact point to form a spot weld. The workers in the welding shop sat primarily in the control center and monitored the smooth operation of all the welding robots. The Wolfsburg plant was early in adopting welding robots, especially for high-volume, repetitive joints. They were also used for consistent spot weld placement. Robots improved consistency, speed, and worker safety, though not all lines were automated yet. The system still relied on human monitoring and maintenance technicians to keep robots running. Welded car bodies moved on conveyor systems through the body shop, then on to the paint shop. Accuracy in welding was essential. Any misalignment would lead to issues in panel fitting, paint quality, or crash performance.
Warum heißt denn das hier eigentlich?
Now you can see how the tagging of the car bodies was done. This worker personally attached a tag to the bodywork, according to which the desired car configuration was further assembled.
Da kommt jetzt die Karte zurück.
You are now looking at body welding for the second generation Golf and Jetta. These cars were produced from 1983 to 1992. During its production run, this generation of Golf was built in several plants including Wolfsburg, Brussels, and Zwickau, East Germany post-reunification. This orange automated guided vehicle was used to transport the body in white throughout the factory. The factory was the primary production hub for the Golf MK2, which was Volkswagen's best-selling model during the 1980s. Spanning over 6.5 million square meters, this factory was a city within a city. Many employees were multi-generational, and the factory had deep roots in the local community. After the Berlin Wall fell in 1989, Wolfsburg became a gateway for East German workers and a symbol of industrial integration. You are now looking at the completed welded body shell, which will next move on to the paint shop. The paint shop is a crucial step in the car manufacturing process, both today and in the past. During the 1980s and into the early 1990s, Volkswagen experienced a major crisis that put its global position under serious threat. While the Golf and Jetta were strong sellers, the company faced financial strain, product stagnation, and loss of market share. This base coat was the visible color layer, sprayed in thin, even coats. Common colors for the second generation of Golf included Tornado Red, Alpine White, Helios Blue, and Oak Green. Most painting was robotic, though many smaller or complex surfaces were still painted by hand. All painted bodies now undergo a thorough quality control process. As you can see, this process is very similar to the quality checks in today's car factories. Japan used the Toyota production system, emphasizing lean manufacturing, just-in-time delivery, and continuous improvement. Their factories were more efficient, less wasteful, and had better quality control than many Western competitors. Now the main assembly line is about to start. Each body has its own marking so that the workers at each station know what equipment to put on the cars. The workers worked in teams and began by assembling the sound insulation and attaching the various wiring brackets and dozens of other components. Interestingly, even today, more than 35 years later, these tasks still have to be done by human workers. Robots cannot do this small specific activity. Meanwhile, the engines were being worked on this separate assembly line. In 1989, Volkswagen manufactured most of its engines in dedicated engine plants, including Salzgitter plant, which was the main site for engine production, and also Chemnitz, later included post-reunification. Some engine work also occurred in Wolfsburg, but final vehicle assembly used engines shipped from Salzgitter and other specialized facilities. Engines were assembled on dedicated engine lines, with stations for crankshaft fitting, piston insertion, cylinder head installation, and valve timing. Workers used torque tools and gauges to ensure specs were met exactly. Every engine was cold tested, and many were hot tested to ensure oil pressure, compression, and function. Quality control was vital because Volkswagen had suffered earlier in the 80s from engine reliability concerns. You are now watching the chassis assembly. The engine and chassis assembly was done by hand by these workers. Meanwhile, the engineers in the offices worked with the first computers to redraw all the components of the car into electronic form. There, they could better work on developing and improving future generations of cars. It is in the area of digitalization that the biggest improvements and advances have been made in recent decades. Many of you might be surprised to learn just how much automation was already being used in car manufacturing back in the late 1980s. At that time, automated assembly lines were playing a growing role in the production process, especially in key areas that required strength, precision, and repeatability. Industrial robots were commonly used to assemble critical components of the vehicle, including installing the underbody shielding, positioning and securing both the front and rear axles, and even handling the complex task of mounting the entire engine and transmission unit into the chassis. While much of the assembly line still relied on skilled human hands, the integration of robotics at this stage marked a major step toward the high-tech car production we see today. You are now watching the automated installation of the front grille on the legendary second-generation Volkswagen Golf. The grille was made of black plastic, horizontal slats being the standard style. It was integrated cleanly between the headlights, giving the front a sharp, functional look. Now the person in charge will fill the car with petrol, and it can be started for the first time. Final quality control was designed to ensure that every vehicle leaving the factory met Volkswagen standards. It was the last checkpoint before a car was sent to the dealer. So any errors caught here were vital to maintaining brand reputation. These workers visually examined the entire car exterior for paint imperfections, panel gaps, and alignment, trim and badge positioning, proper assembly of mirrors, lights, and handles. Interior inspections included seat and dashboard fitting, material defects or stitching issues, switch and control, layout consistency. The engine and control functions will now be tested from the driver's position. In 1989, women made up a relatively small percentage of factory floor workers in the automotive industry, including at Volkswagen. Women were more commonly employed in this quality control and inspection. Many adjustments had to be made to the fully assembled cars, such as the headlight alignment you're looking at right now. Workplace culture at the time was still largely male-oriented, with limited accommodations for female workers in locker rooms, uniforms, and work schedules. Teams included trained quality inspectors and line workers with specialized roles. Some were rotated from earlier stages of production for cross-checking. Volkswagen began introducing internal quality circles in the late 1980s, inspired partly by Japanese practices where workers suggested improvements in quality and efficiency. Well, I have done my best to ensure the highest possible picture and sound quality for this video. I will be very happy for your feedback in the comment section below the video. I will also be very happy if you write me whether you're a fan of Volkswagen Golf or Jetta. Pay at Volkswagen factories was competitive, and compared to other jobs in Germany, Factory work at Volkswagen was generally well paid for blue-collar workers. Pay was regularly reviewed in negotiations between the union and the company. Workers will now take the cars to a test track near the production hall. The test drive was the final check to ensure that the vehicle met all performance and safety standards before being sent to dealerships. While many cars underwent thorough static checks, such as engine testing, brake system checks, and electrical inspections, the test drive served to evaluate real-world performance and handling. Volkswagen operated sophisticated crash test facilities at their headquarters in Wolfsburg. These test centers included long crash tracks where vehicles could be accelerated using hydraulic or cable-driven systems and then slammed into solid barriers or other vehicles under tightly controlled conditions. High-speed cameras, some capable of filming thousands of frames per second, captured every detail of the impact. In 1989, Volkswagen reached a major milestone in its history by producing its 50 millionth car. Reaching 50 million vehicles built demonstrated Volkswagen's ability to maintain strong